So exercising, we'll do a little bit on exercising, some surprising fundamentals, and this is really taking a new turn. So rather than some big comprehensive thing on all the way you can exercise, we'll focus on a couple of new ideas that are really making a lot of buzz in the headlines. Sitting is the new smoking, okay? Sitting is the new smoking. Smoking's been banned in public places, but exercise is not yet mandatory in public places. And to protect us from the effects of sitting, maybe exercise should be mandatory and enforced in public places. So here is a graph showing time during your day spent sitting and your increased risk of death from that lack of activity and where it will cross the smoking threshold. 12 hours and above, you have almost the equivalent of a regular smoking habit. And how scary is that? So here is what some individuals are adopting for desks. This tread desk where you can actually be walking at a very slow pace while you work on your computer. Interesting. You know, during my clinics, I don't sit at all. I have a computer on a stand and I wheel it around, plug it in and out of rooms as I go, and I don't sit. That's helpful. You know, even nicer if you're actually on a treadmill and continuously walking, all to avoid this. So sitting is the new smoking. Think of it as a risk equivalent and all the ways that it can harm you, from your joints to your heart, to your back, to your stomach, to your feet. Being sedentary is really our new problem. So sitting increases the risk of obesity. Here is a Mayo Clinic study. They took a group of subjects, controlled their diet and exercise. So they're all eating exactly the same and they're all exercising exactly the same amount, and then they added 1,000 calories to everyone's diet. So some maintained their weights while others increased in weights. And it was a conundrum to understand why some were gaining weight and while others were not gaining weight without exercise. How did those not gaining weight keep from gaining weight? The conclusion was that those who maintained their weight did so by unintentionally moving throughout the day. So it was all the random motion, the shuffling, the stretching, fidgeting, movements like this in those subjects which got the recognition for maintaining their weight at a normal level. You know, gives us a sense for how important the little motions that we're making all the time are really contributing to our weight maintenance and ultimately to our longevity. So prolonged sitting can increase your risk of diabetes. Sitting for long periods of time affects blood sugar levels and insulin levels. Sedentary people are more likely to be obese. They're also more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. 18 studies, nearly 800,000 participants. Those who sat the most are twice as likely to develop diabetes. So the exercise recommendation, keep moving and be moving throughout your day. Even small motions add up, and the idea is never to be completely still or completely still for a long time. So highly sedentary have a greater chance of developing cancer. That's based on 4 million individuals who had over 68,000 cancers. Sitting for long periods increases risk of colon, endometrial, possibly lung cancer. Even in physically active individuals, so you're kind of athletic and fit, increased sitting in you can worsen with each 2-hour increase in your sitting time. So this is my problem. Kind of exercise intensely for a short period of time and otherwise spend long portions of my day relatively still at work, and recognize the need to interrupt these things and take those opportunities to walk, lift your legs, swing your arms on 2-hour intervals could be absolutely critical to our long-term survival. Frequent sitters have an increased risk of developing heart disease, not surprisingly. 53,000 women, men, 69,000 females, 14-year follow-up. Those who sat more than 6 hours a day died earlier than their counterparts who limited sitting time to 3 hours a day or less. Higher rates of mortality among the frequent sitters. Association strongest for cardiovascular disease mortality. Time spent sitting independently associated with total mortality regardless of the physical activity level. So even if you're really active some of the time, if you're spending the rest of the time sitting still, you're putting yourself at work. at risk. And suddenly those walking treadmill desks are starting to look very attractive for those of us who find ourselves sitting too much. You can develop muscular issues while you sit. Muscles are usually supple and very flexible. They can become stiff, and if you keep this up for too long, it becomes a reason why perhaps elderly folks have a harder time getting along and around later in life, because too much sitting during the years prior have stiffened the muscles such that motion becomes much more difficult and probably not reversible at those advanced ages. Sedentary individuals have a higher risk of depression. 9,000 middle-aged women studied and published on American Journal of Preventive Medicine, with hours and hours of sitting associated with higher sickness and mortality rates. Who wouldn't be depressed? Sitting, if nothing else, reduces the circulation of your feel-good hormones to the receptors, because your feel-good hormones are sitting still in your blood, which isn't moving. So if you're going to actually benefit from those things being present, we have to circulate them. Those who sat for more than 7 hours a day were 47% more likely to suffer from depression than those who sat 4 hours or less. Women who didn't exercise at all had a 99% higher risk of being depressed than those who met a minimum exercise requirement. So again, the importance of a little motion and moving frequently is an idea we all need to grasp. And if we can get our minds around this and start to hang on to it, that one idea could serve us very, very well. Here is an encouraging study published this year, Sitting, the 2-minute solution. Short bursts of light activity such as walking, cleaning, gardening can boost longevity for people who are sedentary for more than half of their day. 2 minutes of light intensity activity each hour lowers the risk of premature death by 33%. So if you find yourself needing to be still for long periods of time, probably every hour you can find 2 minutes to get out and walk, move, stretch, step outside, things like this. Critical, perhaps, to our longevity. Add 2 minutes of walking each hour in combination with normal activities, which should add up to 2.5 hours of moderate type exercise per week. Really the formula to have that longevity benefit from exercise and not be disadvantaged because you're not moving enough.